This is Radio Hereford FC, the home of the Bulls.
Hello and welcome back to the latest edition of the Bullscast with me, George Holloway. It was a crucial win for Hereford on Tuesday night as they beat Marine in added time to move a step closer towards survival in the National League North. We'll look back at all the goals and key moments, preview Hereford's final match of the season against Peterborough Sports, and discuss who needs what in the fight for survival this Saturday. To do all of that, I'm joined by Keith Hall. Good to see you, Keith. There's only one place to start, and that's Hereford's thrilling 2-1 win over Marine on Tuesday. Aaron Skinner converted from the spot on 92 minutes to give the Bulls a crucial 3 points that lifts them out of the relegation zone with just one game left to play. They certainly didn't do it the easy way.
It's Hereford, isn't it? We never find an easy way, seemingly, of doing anything. But yeah, it was absolute elation right around the ground. I don't think I've heard that decibel level for ages, and he took me back to FA Cup ties in the past when there was absolute explosion of sound, and it was really good. And we're going to mention it obviously a bit later on, but Aaron Skinner, the guts that he had to actually go up there and take that penalty, and he put it away in the bottom corner, and as I say, it was absolute bedlam from there on.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic atmosphere on Tuesday. Well, let's take it back to the beginning then. There were 3,231 Bulls fans, to be exact, inside Edgar Street on the night, and you were hoping Hereford could get off to another fast start, Keith, and harness the energy of the crowd, but it was a rather sedate first half.
Yeah, very cagey, wasn't it? I think they were obviously conscious they didn't want to lose. I felt Marine controlled possession a lot better than Hereford in that first half, especially pushing Hereford back. Weren't too many opportunities for the Bulls to get forward in that first half, and when they did, there were a lot of heavy touches. The ball wasn't sticking at the feet of Mikey Lane and George Monday. It was coming straight back to the opposition through midfield. Finlay Sinclair-Smith, I think he'll have a good few years ahead of him now.
The pressure and intensity that was there against Radcliffe wasn't quite there in the first 45 minutes, Keith. Do you think that was mainly down to nerves?
It's got to be, hasn't it? I mean, we've heard an post-match interview with Lewis Hudson sort of talking about this issue. It got to the stage where, well, shall we go forward, shall we go back? Are we really going to be gamble, or are we going to play it cagily? We've got to get not lose game, I suppose. And ultimately, Hereford were able to get over the line. And even after Hereford had scored, I was still concerned that there'd be a sting in the tail somewhere. But luckily, Hereford got that penalty. Well, I say luck, but I think, and we'll talk about it later. But again, I thought, the fact that it just put extra anxiety through everybody. Can they do it? Is it going to go in? Is the goalkeeper going to save it? All those emotions run straight through you, don't they?
We only found out after the match that Aaron Downs was forced to take off Lawson Diath at half-time, and his replacement, Keziah Martin, made quite the impact.
He did. What a through ball it was for Hereford's opener. Crossfield diagonal, sending Daly through. He still had the goalkeeper to beat. Little dink over him into the bottom corner. Even then, I was right behind it, as you know, from our commentary position, diagonally as Cormac Daly got the shot in. And I thought for a split second, it's going to hit the post. And then another split second, the defender is going to come back and hack it off the line, and it still won't go in. Had enough pace on it to find the bottom corner. Reminded me of a Mel Pedgick goal at the Meadow End many moons ago that took an absolute age to go in. You were willing it to get into the back of the net, and eventually it did.
You thought, great, we've got the opening goal now, we've got something to hang on to. But Marine saw a lot of the ball all night, as you've already mentioned, Keith, and really ramped up the pressure after Hereford took the lead. You could feel there was a response coming from the visitors.
There was, and Richardson's save, I think, really was top draw to tip that round the post. If that had gone in at that stage, I'm not sure many supporters within the ground would have still been convinced that Hereford were going to get the victory so necessary. That was a stunning save.
It was a really well-worked move for the equalising goal. Matty McDonald working a nice 1-2 with Charlie Jolly inside the box, Keith, and he slotted it into the back of the net. But also Hereford failed to clear their lines.
It was an attack immediately prior to that, within 5 or 10 seconds. And Hereford sort of somehow managed to scramble it away, but not very far. And then it came straight back into the box, as you say. And it was 1-1. And everybody at that stage, the crowd went really quiet to say, come on, we've still got time. We can still do this.
Opposition players certainly like to celebrate in front of the meadow end when they score, don't they, Keith?
It's become a real habit, I suppose, playing normally in front of, a third of the numbers that we tend to get at Edgar Street. They are ramped up, they're fired up. A lot of fans will say, go and celebrate in front of your own supporters. Why antagonise? And it does antagonise supporters right behind the goal there. And I, like many others, would like to see players booked if they start doing that. I think you're booked if you take your shirt off. Why are you not booked for what you could be sort of really setting in something you don't want to see within a football ground, and somebody takes it upon themselves to jump on the pitch and have a go at the player? I'm not saying it will happen, but it could. And it's real antagonism, and it's quite hostile, I feel, sometimes. And it just goes a little bit too far.
Now, the Bulls found themselves in a tricky situation after the equaliser, Keith. They knew a defeat would effectively end their survival chances, but they also knew a win would significantly boost them. And it was all about how the players navigated that balancing act.
Yeah, they did really well, I suppose. When we talked about Andy Williams' 35-yard sprint to charge down the goalkeeper, Fraser Barnsley. His initial kick wasn't very good, but Hereford got there. Andy Williams made the effort to get there, rebounded out to Keziah Martin, and he was then brought down. We weren't quite sure, was it inside the box from our perspective, but, hindsight from videos, clearly inside the box. A big error, I feel, from Fraser Barnsley, the keeper. No doubt as far as the referee was concerned. And up stepped the man himself, Aaron Skinner.
Yeah, you just mentioned it there, Keith, Andy Williams. We've spoken a lot in this run-in about how much character and perseverance Hereford would have to show in order to stay up, and Andy Williams really epitomised that, didn't he, when he hunted down the Marine shot stopper?
Well, he knew he hadn't got many minutes on the pitch, so he knew he could do everything within his power to show a bit of energy to get up there, fresh legs, they talk about. And that's exactly what Hereford were given by those two substitutions. I thought Keziah Martin, he's got a good range of passing, and when that comes off, he can create opportunities as he did for the opening goal. So they did make a big impact on the game. But for Skinner's inner strength, resolve, to make sure he got a good contact on the ball from the penalty, fired it low as he did against Darlington over at Six Ways into the back of the net, and as I say, place went absolutely mad.
Yeah, there was so much riding on that penalty, Keith, and although he's played a lot of football, particularly in a ball shirt, you've got to remember he's still only 23 years old.
And 200 odd appearances for Hereford now, as far as I understand it. Nerves of steel, just stepped up, struck it in, and away we go. Hereford get the 3 points needed.
Marine boss Bobby Grant said afterwards the reason his side lost the game was down to the officiating, without going into any more detail. What do you make of those comments, Keith?
Well, if you go back through this season, if you can be bothered to do so, have a look at the post-match interviews that he gives. It's never Marine's fault. It's never his fault. And he's got a bit of a reputation now for moaning and groaning. He may well have a point in this particular case, but Hereford have been undone with a lot of unfortunate decisions given the other way throughout the season. It's been an absolutely horrific season for a Hereford supporter. Been going through our grinder, really, of a season, and hopefully the very end of it gives us a little bit of a response for having to put up with some pretty grim times throughout the last few months.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure he can have any complaints with the penalty decision. I can only think he's referring to the Carl Howkins second yellow that wasn't. What did you make of that, Keith, in real time?
Well, we're still completely unsure as to who the referee was booking on the line. So how Howkins appeared to be booked earlier on the halfway line for an earlier incident. And then the card was shown to two players inside the box before a corner was coming in. There's always a lot of bumping and barging, as we know. And the card was sort of shown indiscriminately, and most people in the crowd were concerned that obviously it was Carl Howkins that was on the end of it. But there were no complaints from the Marine players. Now, if you or I were playing and you knew that somebody had already had a yellow card, you would all be around the referee. So there's something wasn't quite right there, and I'm amazed that Bobby Grant has brought it up in that respect, because his own players were not responding as you would expect to that incident.
Yeah, certainly a strange one. Now, how important is it, Keith, psychologically for the players to finally be out of the relegation zone after all these months?
Tremendous uplift. It's been, as I say, so many games. Was it 17 games in 50 days? And a lot of them have played 70-80% of the time. So, yeah, there has been a little bit of rotation. But the players that brought in, the youngsters that were brought in, obviously got really keen to play. They want to play football rather than training. So, in that respect, it's been really, really useful. But they must feel that their efforts are being vindicated. If you work hard, you get results, is one of Aaron Downs' phrases. Well, that is, but they are bearing fruit now. But there is still one game to go.
Just one other game took place in the National League North on Tuesday night, and that was Macclesfield versus Southport, with the hosts coming out 2-1 winners in that one. It means with one game to go of the 25-26 National League North season, Fylde lead the way on 97 points, with South Shields chasing them on 95. Kidderminster are in third on 84, while Macclesfield have already secured their place in this season's playoffs. It's all to play for, though, from Scarborough in 5th down to Darlington in 9th. Scarborough are on 72 points, as are Chester. Buxton are in 7th on 70 points. Merthyr are just outside the playoffs, also on 70, but they have an inferior goal difference to Buxton. Darlington are in 9th on 69 points. Spennymoor in 10th are on 67. Their hopes of the playoffs are gone. For this season at least, they have a goal difference of -7. Down at the other end of the table, of course, Leamington and Peterborough Sports are already relegated. Alfreton are now in 22nd on 49 points. Curzon Ashton drop into the relegation zone. They're in 21st on 51 points. Hereford's win over Marine takes them out of it and into 20th, also on 51 points. The Bulls have a better goal difference than the Nash. They're on -15 compared to Curzon's -21. Kingston are just above Hereford on 51 points. They have a superior goal difference to Hereford of -8. Bedford are in 18th on 52 points with a goal difference of -11. Oxford City are just above those sides in 17th on 53 points. They're not mathematically safe just yet, but you feel like their place in the National League North should be secure for next season. So, after 9 months and 45 games, the final day of the season is nearly upon us. For the Bulls, it's relegated Peterborough Sports at home, who have lost 5 of their last 6 games and were hit for 8 by Worksop last Saturday. Not one part of the players can feel like the job is done, though, Keith.
They can't. They must not take this game, be overconfident going into it. Yeah, Peterborough Sports already relegated, but given that they lost so heavily last week, I always say beware of the wounded animal, and they're going to have a response. Michael Gash, if you watch the post-match interview, saying, that's not my team, that's not how I expect my players to go out. I would never want to be playing in a team that gave up as they did at Worksop. So he's going to get a response. There are a number of players not available. Kane Felix, Anthony Stewart, they're out injured. McClintock and Carriol missed the game at Worksop. There were 2 other players stuck on a train, 2 central defenders. They actually couldn't get to Worksop in time. They might have been able to get home and then get in a car and get to the game by about 3:30. But that wasn't going to be allowed. So there were a lot of circumstances behind that Worksop defeat. And as we saw when Hereford went up to Worksop, if you don't compete toe-to-toe with Worksop, they are extremely aggressive. They're in your face. And obviously Peterborough crumbled on the day. They got a new goalkeeper in on loan from Salford City, Mackenzie Chapman. So he wouldn't have known the players. So, all in all, it conspired, I think, to go some way towards Peterborough's heavy defeat. So I don't think people just think, they'll just roll over, they're not interested. Far from it. I expect the complete opposite. They'll want to play for a lot of personal pride. It's their last game of the season, and given that if they were involved last week, they'll want to put it right.
If Peterborough Sports are to cause Hereford problems, where are the threats likely to come from, Keith?
Well, it's going to be a difficult one. For all of them, I'm sure. I'm not seeing too much of Sean Jeffers. I expected him to score a few more for Peterborough since his arrival. He hasn't really worked out. Got Shaq Coulthurst, the centre forward up there. I think it's just going to be one of those performances where it's probably be very unspectacular. Might be 1 goal in it either way, because you've just got to work so hard at it. Peterborough just won't hope to come and concede, hope to upset the crowd, frustrate the crowd. Maybe the referee will turn, whatever. They've conceded most goals in the National League North, 94. So you look at them and think, defensively they're not very sound. And you mentioned they've lost 5 of the last 6. They've actually lost 12 of their last 17 matches. Their only win in those 17 came at Alfreton, a 2-0 victory. And they're not scoring too often as well, so that's why I think it's going to be a narrow win for Hereford. I think supporters will probably be happy with that. Just get over the line. Doesn't matter if it's 1-0. Doesn't matter what the score is, as long as they win. It's out of everybody else's hands, all down to Hereford, what attitude they go out onto the field of play. You've still got to get that work, you've still got to put that work in and that effort in to just force opportunities against Peterborough.
Well, as you say, it's been a miserable season for the Turbines, who have seen their 4-year stay in the National League North come to an end. Joint managers Michael Gash and Luke Steele departed in September with the club bottom. Phil Brown came in but moved upstairs in March before Gash returned, this time on his own, to see the club through to the end of the season. On a slighter side, Keith, was it always going to be tough for a side like Peterborough when you have the lowest average attendance in the division?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there was talk about them going full-time under Phil Brown, so I'm not sure what the consequences of that will be when they're relegated, as they are. Will that still continue? Can you possibly be full-time in the Southern League Premier Division Central? Maybe you can. But on gates of a couple of hundred, you wonder how they actually have managed to get to this level, let alone stay there. But it's surprising what you can do if you've got the collective will. It doesn't necessarily follow that you get low gates you can't get anyway. Just look at Tamworth, who are still in the National League. So don't run too much on that. It's all about your collective effort, what squad you've got at any one time. And they did the business to get there. Must be very frustrating. Peterborough United, there as well. And I think they get, it's probably between 50 and 80 extra fans whenever Peterborough United are playing away. It must be very difficult to work through that circumstance.
OK, Keith, let's talk permutations then. Hereford are 20th on 51 points, ahead of Curzon Ashton on goal difference, but behind Kings Lynn on the same metric. Alfreton host Curzon Ashton on Saturday, while the Linnets travel to Chester. What do you think will happen?
Well, Hereford need to win, first and foremost. Talking to some supporters last night, and they were saying, hang on a minute, Curzon could still overtake Hereford on goal difference. So, really? They're going to get 8 goals against Alfreton? I just can't see that. Even if, Hereford do win, they could still go down if Curzon beat Alfreton by 8 or 9 goal margin. Not going to happen, I wouldn't have thought, in a million days. Chester, home to Kings Lynn. Chester want to secure playoffs. Bedford against Scarborough. Scarborough are looking to get into the playoffs as well, stay in there. And Darlington are at home to Oxford City. You expect Darlington to do the necessary. But all of that just pales into insignificance. It's all about what the Hereford players do on the day that counts. And with the support behind them, let's hope they just do enough to get over the line. A draw might be enough. They might get to, 52 points. Would 52 be enough? Can they get above Bedford if Bedford were to lose? I don't think they can because it's a 5-goal difference. Hereford would then go down on goal difference. If Bedford lost, Hereford drew, Hereford get to 52 points, still not enough. Got to get that victory and just forget about everything else.
Yeah, if Hereford drew, they would stay up if Curzon Ashton and Alfreton drew against each other, or if Alfreton won, because Hereford would go to 52, so would Alfreton, but the Bulls have a better goal difference. Kings Lynn also losing at Chester would be a bonus.
If Kings Lynn lose at Chester, Kings Lynn are stranded on 51 points. They've got a much better goal difference than Hereford, so again, must not lose.
If they were to lose, Keith, heaven forbid we even have to consider that scenario, we would be reliant on the world not ending. I'm looking at the table here.
Because if Alfreton then win, they're on 52 points. We're stranded on 51.
Yeah, looking at the league table, the only way I could see Hereford avoiding relegation is if Kings Lynn lose to Chester by at least 8 goals. That's because with one of Curzon or Alfreton leapfrogging Hereford, we would need someone else to take our place in the relegation zone. With the Linnets and the Bulls tied on 51 points, it of course reverts to goal difference. Hereford are on minus 15, Kings Lynn minus 8. So, if Hereford were to lose 1-0 to Peterborough Sports, Kings Lynn would have to lose by 8 to match our goal difference. It would then come down to goals scored, and the Bulls have scored 62 compared to Kings Lynn's 56. It's almost as likely to happen as Curzon Ashton hitting Alfreton for 7 without response and staying up instead of Hereford, despite the Bulls beating Peterborough Sports, Keith. But it's still interesting to look at the potential scenarios. And at the end of the day, none of that changes Hereford's task, which is to go and beat Peterborough Sports.
It ain't over till it's over, and they just got to get that final burst of energy and show that inspiration necessary. And I think Aaron Downs knows it. He was talking after the game and he said, look, it's not done yet. He said the same when we lost. It's not done yet. More work to be done. And that final 90, 100 minutes, whatever it takes, everybody be on the edge of their seat. I don't think it'll be a comfortable afternoon. You can just sit there and enjoy it, barnstorming Hereford 4 or 5-0. I just don't see it happening. I'd love it, but I just worry that there's usually a sting in the tail somewhere, and you've got to have the fight, got to have the resolve to finally get this over the line. Nobody surely wants to be in the Southern League Premier Division Central next season. If you're a Hereford supporter, player, coach, whatever, you don't want to be there next year if that's the case. So one last major effort.
That's what the Bulls need to do. My final question to you, Keith. Are you confident that Hereford can get the job done?
I am. So I was when we got to the last 3 games. We've called it the Great Escape trilogy. Part 1 was sorted. Part 2 was sorted last night. Can they get part 3 over and done with and finally secure their place? It's been quite transformative since Aaron Downs and Harry Pell took over, and I'm sure if they stay up, negotiations will commence, I would have thought, immediately. It sounds like he really likes being here, Aaron Downs. Harry Pell's always got a smile on his face. So the pair working together, let's hope there's a brighter future next season in the National League North. But one last gasp effort is required to stay there.
So before we go, let's take a look at the final round of fixtures in the National League North. Alfreton are hosting Curzon Ashton, Scarborough travel to Bedford, Chester are at home to Kings Lynn, while Worksop travel to Chorley. It's Darlington versus Oxford City and Radcliffe versus Macclesfield. South Shields have a huge task on their hands. They'll hope to go to Kidderminster and beat Harriers, while hoping that Fylde drop points at Merthyr. Southport host Telford, while Spennymoor are at home to Marine. And of course, Hereford welcome Peterborough Sports to Edgar Street. A reminder that all of those fixtures taking place on Saturday kick off at 12:30. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Bullscast. If you enjoyed it, don't forget you can follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you never miss an episode. Until the next time, it's bye for now.
This is Radio Hereford FC, the home of the Bulls.